The FujiCast is an independent Loading Zone production.
Kev, are we allowed to mention it? We've waited till now. Surely we can.
Well, that does depend entirely on whether you've waited correctly until 2 p.m.
Well, I tell you what, I've waited to the extent that I released this podcast manually. I did not trust doing it by the clock because sometimes the clocks in America, and I'm not quite sure where the servers are for our host. Yeah. So there can be, we got GMT going on and some parts of America don't go back until this weekend. So I didn't trust it, Kev. I did it manually.
Yeah.
I set an alarm and did it manually.
Yeah.
So I know it's gone out at the right time. Is whether we're allowed to mention it.
Yeah, we can mention it now. X-T5, it's officially 2 p.m. on the 2nd of November, 2022. Mm-hmm. And the X-T5 has been announced at the X Summit in Japan, which I was part of. Yeah. So my little 8 minutes of video, which they probably trimmed down to about 30 seconds, should be available at some point. Although, interestingly, I've been seeing the banner all over the internet where they've been advertising the X Summit, and they've been using my picture of Tokyo that I took on my XM1 back in 2013.
Blimey, you're award winner.
My award winner, yeah. The one I won an X100S exactly 4 days after I bought one.
Oh, just what you needed. Well, the X-T5 is at last out.
The FujiCast.
And we can talk about it without Kev getting in trouble. You have had your dirty, grubby Welsh mitts all over it, though, haven't you?
I have, not for long, but I did. Yeah, a few days, 6 days or so. Yeah.
Perish the thought somebody's going to buy that particular model, and it would have been Mullinsed. It won't have been in a bag with dividers. You'll notice the one; it will be scratched to smithereens. Did you like it? Was it good? Did it do everything you wanted it to?
Yeah, actually, we will have Andreas on a little bit later on the show to talk us through a bit more about it. But yeah, it's smaller than the X-T4, which I thought was interesting.
What?
Yeah, it's slightly lighter. It's gone back to the X-T3 tilty screen for those people that wanted that, which there was a lot. I did not, by the way. I preferred the one on the X-T4.
Yep.
But yeah, I did. I actually, so I took it to Japan with me. Obviously, it was a prototype, but it worked. It didn't let me down. Right. And for all intents and purposes, it's, I would say, probably the perfect XT style camera that they've ever done. And of course, it's always going to be better than the previous one. But they've gone back to that, to the X-T3 stylish looking feel.
The only thing I don't get though, Kev, is the tilty screen thing. The X-T4 had the one that the X-H2S has got, yeah?
Yes, pretty much.
So it seems a bit of a backward step to go to the other one.
Well, yes and no. So essentially, I think there was enough hee-haw on the internet, people clamoring for the X-T3 tilty screen. We've seen it in the Facebook group and all sorts of things. So I think by and large, most people, like if you took a straw poll, I'd say most people would say, no, prefer the X-T3 tilty screen to the X-T4 one.
The articulation was better with the X-H2S than the X-T4 one.
Well, it depends what you use it for, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. It's that kind of being able to flip it out and look vertical and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot more fiddling about with your hands to do that with the one on the X-T4 and the one on the X-H2s. So yeah, they've essentially, in my personal opinion, is they've made the X-T5. That's very confusing there, isn't it? Mm. They've made the X-T5, properly with photographers in mind. It does very good video. It does like 6K and all that kind of stuff. But whereas I think they've kind of made that separation now with the X-H2s. They've made the separation between that and stills camera for the X-T5. Whereas the X-T4 was that kind of in the middle, wasn't it? It kind of came before the X-H2Ss and X-H2 and all that kind of stuff. And it had this amazing video functionality. And so they put a tilt screen with a selfie facing thingamajiggy and all that. So I think they were kind of trying to do the best of both worlds with that. And I like that screen. I like that tilt screen. I like the fact that it's flush and all that kind of stuff. But it is what it is. And but the X-T5, I have to say, is lovely. Especially that nice, lovely 40 megapixel sensor is pretty beautiful. Well, Andreas will be along later.
Yes, I was about to say Andreas is going to come and do all the tech details for us, isn't he?
Yeah.
So we'll let him do all the gorgeousness very shortly. The X-T5 though is out. Anything else out that we're allowed to talk about?
30mm macro lens.
Right. Do I need to hide that in the cupboard? Have you brought me one?
No, I haven't seen that actually. I don't really have a need for that lens, but yeah, I think
we do, because
you
do have a need for macro lens, because I have yours.
Oh, well, I know you've got my 60mm one.
Look,
yeah, but I don't need 30mm one.
Here it is, Kev. Yeah. It's here. Look, there it is. It's in my cupboard, nice and warm and safe.
Is my 35 there as well?
Oh, I'll have a look. I'm not allowed to say, it's embargoed till next year.
Yeah, that's, as far as I'm aware, that's all, but who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Because the actual thing, as we are releasing this, is going on right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know, is the ultimate answer, but I'm pretty sure the X-T5 30mm are going to be the headliners. And I reckon, right, so this is my kind of, what was her name? Well, Mystic Meg. This is my Mystic Meg moment.
Oh, right.
I think the X-T5 will probably, possibly, maybe, potentially be the best-selling camera Fujifilm ever made.
Really? How much? How much, Kev? How much?
11T.
11T, right? Okay.
At least 11T.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's very.
No, I think it's going to fly. I have to say.
Do you think it's sort of? Do you think the XH2S and it? Do you think there's room in the relationship for both of them?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm in that circle right now where I have an X-T4, I have an X Pro 3, an X-T4, and a XH2S.
Well, actually, the sensor is different. I know it's a 40 megapixel versus one in the 20s. So the XH2, maybe I should rephrase that. Do you think the XH2 and the X-T5, there's room in the relationship for both?
Yes, kind of. I think potentially. I don't have an XH2. I have an XH2S.
Yes.
So I'm at this situation now where I have no. It's the wrong time of the year for me to start buying stuff again. So I'm kind of my mind, even though I love the XH2S in terms of its speed, I don't love the XH2S.
Well, you don't like the PASM dial and all that sort of stuff, do you?
I don't like the PASM dial. I don't like the fact that it doesn't have a focus switch. No. I don't like the fact that the ISO thingamajiggy doesn't, isn't kind of on the dial.
Yeah. It's got lots of things about it that you don't like, I know. Yeah,
but I do love the performance. I mean, I photographed an Indian wedding on the weekend, and it was one of those ones that was had a two-day part, and it was very kind of sedate on the first day, and then the second day when they did the partying was insane. And I used my XH2S, and I basically shot the shit out of that dance floor. And
is that the official technical phrase?
That's the official word, yeah. And the images are just phenomenal.
Yeah. Auto-focusing your way through that, I would assume.
Yes, exactly. Or continuous focus. Tracking.
Continuous tracking.
With the XH2S, it's phenomenal. Yeah. Now, the X-T5 is faster than the X-T4 at focus. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I can basically guarantee that because I've used them. Yeah. It doesn't feel as quick as the XH2S, which I don't think it's meant to be. So I'm at this point where part of me, there's a little bit of me that's regretting buying the XH2S, I have to say. And I kind of wished that I'd waited for the X-T5 or knew it was coming. But ultimately, what I really want is a zigzag. No, what I really want is a new X Pro camera. But I have no idea. I mean, if we look at the timelines, like if you look at history, X Pro, I think would be 2024. So,
But isn't there a new X100 due next year?
I think if you look at the timeline again, that's 2024 as well. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but yeah.
Sorry, we're in 2022. So I meant 2024.
We're in 2022, yeah. So
I'm ahead of myself, Kev.
So normally I'd be, normally when all the new sensors and everything come out, I'm kind of like dragging my heels a bit and thinking, X Pro, they'll put that in an X Pro, but it feels like that's a little bit of a way away. So, I'm really like when I shoot my X Pro 3 and compare it to the XH2S, it's like driving, the X Pro 3 is like driving a beautiful old Morgan hand-built car that's a joy to get in. You crank it up, you drive off, it's beautiful, it smells lovely, it touches, it's just tactile and beautiful. Everything about it is lovely. Compared to like a Tesla, which is ugly and horrible and terrible things, but it's fast.
But it has nice doors. I like the gull wing, Kev. I like the gull wing thing.
Yeah. So I don't know why I picked Tesla. I shouldn't have picked Tesla. Other bad cars are available.
It's just not your favourite. I know.
The reason why I picked Tesla is because today I sat on the A338 for approximately 4.5 hours when I left a commercial job at 8 a.m. this morning, and I was behind a Tesla.
Were you? Well, that's not the Tesla's fault.
No, it's not. It wasn't his fault
Tesla.
or her fault. That's true. But I just stared at the badge. And then I got thinking about Elon Musk and Twitter, and that made me angry. Anyway, all that aside.
Why are you angry about Elon Musk having Twitter? Or should I not start you?
I would. Don't open that can of worms. No.
I think we just got to settle here and
It is what it is. It is what it is.
He wasn't born in America, was he?
Who wasn't?
Elon, we're both really tired. Elon Musk.
Does it make any difference?
Yes, it does, because he
does that
can't
make any
stand to be
difference?
president if he's not born in America.
But he's not trying to be president.
You're right. He wants to be president of the world, doesn't he? I'm sure of it.
Maybe
he's born in South Africa. I just looked it up.
Maybe the Galactica, yeah, but not America. So let's leave Elon Musk there.
Yeah.
But so X-T5 is out. That's fantastic news. And,
Yes.
And coming along on platform 3 soon will be our Andreas, who's going to tell us much more about it.
Yeah, I'm not talking to Andreas anyway.
Why? You've got to. You're interviewing him.
No, because when we came back from Japan, 15 hours, he fell asleep. We were in the bulkhead, so we had the legroom stuff, and he fell asleep on my little TV thing.
So you were in the bulkhead?
You have to come out with the arm when you're at the front rather than in front of you.
Were you right at the front of the aircraft?
No. We were at the front of like the section we were sitting in.
Oh, right. Okay.
No beds.
Oh, I thought,
But
okay.
Just out of pure luck, we were allocated the seats at not the bulkhead, with more leg room anyway.
Right.
And he immediately, before we even took off, fell asleep on my armrest. So I spent the next 12 hours staring at a white wall, waiting for him to wake up again. I didn't want to wake him up in case he shouted at me.
Well, at least you got the chance to go.
That's very true. Yeah, it's a shame you didn't go. It was brilliant. You'd have loved it.
I know, I would have loved it. I'm not sure I would have loved eating that fish that can kill you, but there we go.
Eating it was nice. It was the 8 hours afterwards waiting to see whether it killed you or not.
To wait to see if you're going to wake up the next day. Right, we have to say thank you. Before we start the letters, I know that was quite a long start to the show, but we needed to talk about the X-T5. It has been launched. Pick Time, thank you. Pick Time are with us for at least another month, which is fantastic. And we both use them. And if you're thinking, what is Pick Time? I've not been with you for the last couple of months. They have an amazing, it's gallery software for your, or showware, if you like, for your fantastic images that you make when you're out there being a photographer, so that you can sell and make prints and make books and make frames and you can integrate. Well, you were telling me the clever stuff. You can send people reminders of when their anniversary is coming up and sell upon a sell. And we both use it. Yeah.
No, so they are one of the automations really are the thing that I've had a few emails about this since we've been talking about Pick Time, and why would I use that over like just sending a Dropbox link of the images and everything? And the answer, of course, is ultimately it's a way of delivering your images to your clients. That's fine. I've just literally paid for my year's renewal on Pick Time, and it's not an inexpensive service. You probably need to be a professional photographer to justify it, but justify it's easy to do because it makes its money back. But mostly through things like the rolling automations and all that kind of stuff. You just press a button, say, right, do the rolling automation. And so it will, after a few days, you can say, right, send people who have logged in, the guests, send them an email saying 30% off any orders for the next 10 days or whatever. And then, in 4 weeks' time, you can say, don't forget your 30% off and all of that kind of stuff. And then in a year's time or just before the year, it will send them another thing saying your gallery is going to be moved to archived. You can order your stuff now. And when they archive it, it doesn't go away. It's still there. But it's, it's just a way of gently nudging people into buying stuff. But the delivery of it is just beautiful.
And the gallery that you make, I mean, if somebody says, well, why don't I just send it out by Dropbox or WeTransfer and so on, so forth, fine, yeah. But being able to show your work in a proper gallery where you can highlight some stuff larger than other stuff is really important.
And it just looks absolutely stunning. That's ultimately. They've just done a whole load of updates to the slideshows as well. So there's all kinds of different options for layouts and various other things with the slideshows that are really nice. I really like that as well. And you can something I wasn't aware of actually is you can use the slideshow to create one of those funny things on Instagram. What they call it, a story or whatever. One of those vertical things.
Oh, okay.
All the kids watch.
Well,
scrolling on Instagram.
All right, Grandad.
Yeah. But it's good. Yes. So Pick Time. Thank you for supporting us, and you can get months free with the code FujiCast. All in capitals.
If you go to pick-time.com. On that front, talking about automated things, this is probably a good time to have our first question from Brad Wakefield. But he has not just one, a few questions. He hasn't written for so long that he's getting a few in there. I've been on, now I can't, is it Imagion or Imagine or Imogen? Who's Imogen? AI this year. And it's made a huge difference to my workflow, my delivery time to my clients. Is this something you've tried? I've managed to deliver weddings within 10 days now during busy periods. Last year, my backlog was 8 to 12 weeks. I'm still having to go over each image, but for the most part, just straighten the horizons. I think it's sped up my editing by 5 hours. So, go on then, because you've been using it. I haven't. And you are very impressed with it.
Yeah, so, I am impressed with it, absolutely. And I remember we had a question about this sometime last year.
Yeah.
And it may even been the year before, I don't know. But I remember both of us coming to the conclusion, neither of us had used it, coming to the conclusion that no, you can't automate editing, and which is very different to having an editor do it for you, because obviously they work with you and style and all that. And so we both kind of went, no, humph. We'll carry on doing it our way.
It'll never replace film.
It will never replace film. Yeah, during the war, and so over time, sometime would have been definitely this year. I wouldn't have been last year. So probably at the beginning of this year, I started investigating it. So it's Imagine-AI. And
how do you spell the Imagine? Because it's
Imagen.
Imagine.
I've been up so long.
Imogen.
I'm having to think of everything really carefully. Yes, Imagine.
No, I've just got Powering the Future of Primary Care on that one. I don't know if I need primary care. Spell it again.
EN, not AN. Sorry.
So it's IM
AGEN-AI.com. Yes.
Right, which won't take me to my primary care site.
No, although it does primarily care for us. Boom.
Yeah, that's true.
So essentially what it does, in a nutshell, is there's two ways you can use it. And I've been using it, and like Brad, it does definitely help and speed things up massively. So you can build your own profile, which it learns from.
How does it do that? I mean, this is
AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah, but what do you have to do for it to learn your style? You have to have a word with it, or send your wife down to have a word with it?
You have to upload 5,000 edited images.
Right,
which is quite a challenge. However, it constantly learns. So let's just say you've got a favorite preset. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's just say you've got one of the old VSCO presets or something like that, and you always use it. But the one thing you struggle with is things like the stuff you do before you add a preset, which is white balance, saturation, clarity, shadows, highlights, all of the stuff that's unique to every single image, which you should be applying before you would apply your preset. You essentially upload your images, and it learns what your editing style is, i.e. looking at the color, contrast, all of that kind of stuff. And it will, I mean, I won't say it's 100% perfect with things like white balance and stuff like that, but it's 99% perfect. So it will do all of the heavy lifting for you.
So we have quite awkward light. I mean, I suppose everybody would say we have awkward light here as well, but let me give you an example. Swindon Registry Office, a Saturday afternoon in the winter at 4:45, when they've got mixed lighting in there as well. What's it going to do with the white balance? Or has it done so much work with tens of thousands of images that it's worked out how to deal with Swindon Registry Office?
No, but what it will do is it will do it better than you, and it will do it more consistently better than you.
Right.
So you're right about things like really tricky light and everything. Sometimes you still need to go. So I did a wedding in Barnsley House a couple of weeks, end of September, end of October. What month is it now? Yeah, no, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago anyway. And yeah, it was dark, multiple light sources, all that kind of stuff. I've just finished editing the wedding, and literally everything up until that dance floor stuff, I had to do very, very little to. I do pretty strong crops and things like that. So I do that myself manually. You can tell it to do the cropping for you.
Really?
Yeah. And it will do straightening and all that stuff. But ultimately the way that I use it, there's a section on there called talents, right? And there's like 15 or 20.
Oh, I noticed, Mullins, you're one of the talents.
I am, but we don't need to talk about that. There are lots of other people on there. So let's just say, right, you love, as an example, let's just say you love Eurovant styles. Right. Eurovant Zanazarian.
Yeah.
Who is an amazing photographer. Yes. Everybody's probably heard of him if you're a wedding photographer.
Yep.
Let's just say you love the way his images are edited. So you could pick his talent profile when you upload, and then you don't need to upload 5,000. So you can you do your selections, you drop let's say there's 400 raw files, you drop your 400 raw files into Lightroom. You don't do anything, nothing. Don't edit, don't do a thing at that point, right? Your 400 raw files go in. You then go to the Imagine AI uploader. You point it to your Lightroom catalog, and then you choose the Eurovant talent profile. Or if you want black and white, you could choose mine. And it goes up to the cloud. So the way it works is it creates, if you haven't created smart previews, it will create those as it's uploading them. So it's not uploading 400 raw files. It creates the smart previews and uploads them. So it's a lot quicker than what you might imagine. And then within about 5 minutes, often quicker, it sends you a notification. You go back to the app, you press a button, and it downloads them all back into your Lightroom catalog, and they will look like Eurovant's, or the black and whites might look like mine, or you might like for Hurastes images, which are beautiful. It's essentially doing the heavy lifting for you and doing the style. Now, not everybody, in fact, I would imagine a lot of people who use this tool don't use the talent profiles. I always have done all the way through it. I don't know the numbers or anything like that, but a lot of people, I think, will have their own editing style that they've had for years and years and years. Yep. They will upload their 5,000 initial ones. It creates a profile. And then what happens is over time, as you carry on editing, you download your first job after your 5,000, and you think, okay, it's not quite right. So I'm going to make my adjustments. And then you just say, right, upload these again. And then it learns from that. And then it keeps learning. But seriously, time-saving wise, it is absolutely phenomenal. I think I've used the word phenomenal about 12 times on this show already.
Can I ask about the money? What does it cost?
So you pay per image, effectively. You can do like a monthly subscription thing, but that doesn't work for me. So it's 5 cents per photo.
5 cents per? Are you sure?
So over the time I've been using it, so I looked at my September one. I had 5 weddings in September.
Yeah.
All of them went through Imagine AI, and then at the end of the month, they send you a bill. Obviously, just takes it off your debit card, credit card, and my 5 weeks, one of my 5 weddings was $78.
Shut the front door.
Of course, the pound was on the floor, so it ended up being about £3,000. No, it didn't. But, yeah. So $78 was my fee. That's what they charged me that month.
What do you think, Bouquet Chicken? Yeah, I'm surprised too.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. I don't like the whole idea of artificial intelligent photography, when you can type into a search engine, create an image of a...
This is one step towards it though, Mr. Mullins.
But this is... No, I don't think so. I think this is a very clever way of using AI editing stuff. Adobe have been developing this technology for a very long time. I have no idea what's going on in the back end of Imagine AI, but I presume that they've got some very, very clever software engineers who are creating this.
So Adobe is sitting there to slap it onto Lightroom. This is available through Imagine. It's extraordinary. I mean, I'm looking at I'm looking at the pictures now.
I sent you one of mine, didn't I? That I'd
Yeah.
and I didn't touch that image.
You said you'd not touched it at all,
and it didn't touch it, and it came back as a beautiful, beautiful black and white.
Yeah. Well, Brad had other questions, although we could talk about Imagine. I'm sure we'll come back to that. Actually, it would be good to know if you have been using it. Somebody else out there in the podcast sphere using it. What you think of it? What you think of it?
Yeah.
Let us know.
And unlike Pick Time, Imagine aren't helping us out. So it's I'm just telling you my usage of it. But I do know a lot of people who are using it now.
Yeah. Brad says, I'm a Canon shooter, but I'm getting frustrated with cameras getting smaller. I'm finding my hands are aching after work. Fuji cameras are even smaller. How do you both get on? Oh, I thought
like the X-T5.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? That you need a larger camera for your hands not to ache as much. That's what he's suggesting, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you have to use the tools that work for you, don't you? It's a very valid point.
I think this is why I like the XH2 and the XH1, because the grip on it is far more. I'm far more used to it.
It's far more substantial grip.
And I've always found the XT and the X Pro definitely, but even though I like the X Pro, I've always found they're a bit too small and clasping your hand at the end I'm doing it now. Yeah, it is a bit towering. Brad's right.
It is, but one of the things I've noticed since I started using the XH2S is that I'm feeling it again. I'm feeling like my hands ache when I use the XH2S because it's bigger and I'm having to hold it and wrap my fists around it, all that kind of stuff. And for some people that's going to be better, and for others it's not going to be so good. So, it's 6 of one and half dozen of the other, that's for sure. And I do know many people who prefer bigger, bulkier, like Canon 1DX type size cameras for that very reason, and it's very valid.
You're going to have to keep buying your big Canons then, Brad, so you don't get too frustrated.
Keep the Canons going. The reason why I was first attracted to Fujifilm at the time was because they were smaller. I was sick to death of having a bad back and neck ache and everything from carrying a 1DX and what was then a 5D Mark II, and the lenses and everything. And that was the reason why I was attracted to Fujifilm in the first place. I loved the fact that everything was smaller and, much easier for me to carry and handle. But for other people, that's not the case.
The other day I met a chap that is a newspaper photographer, and he showed me he'd built this sort of leather rig for holding his cameras by, and he had these two 1DXs with big lenses, L lenses on them. And I have to say, they were so heavy. I said, you can't be serious that you're carrying these around all day. He said, yeah, I am. It's just, I'm used to it. I like the weight. He says it feels balanced.
Yeah,
but when you need to build...
I compare it to playing guitar, right? Okay. I think, some people like big full-size guitars. Other people like Ed Sheeran, for example, uses a 3/4 size guitar because it works better for him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, it works for Ed. It'll work for you.
Yeah.
Do you wear ear... I told you I had a few questions. This is going to take us up to the interview, by the way. Do you wear ear protection during the first dance and stroke or party? Now, I do carry ear protection with me, but, I'm really bad and I don't always wear it.
No, I don't.
No, I should. I know I should, because I do suffer from... we both do to an extent, don't we, with tinnitus?
Tinnitus, yeah. I definitely have tinnitus, but yeah, I don't. I have to say, this Indian wedding I did on the weekend, the dancing was out of this world, and it was an afternoon. It wasn't even an evening. It was absolutely incredible, and they had an amazing DJ, and that was really very, very, very loud, like vibratingly loud. Yeah. But I loved the music. I loved all of that kind of music. So I have in the past on occasions. Actually, which sounds really rude now when I think about it, but I've plugged in my headphones into my phone and listened to my own music during the dancing.
So you're listening to your own country music? Why are all these people dancing completely out of time with the music? That's because you're listening to different music. Ear protectors where you can still hear the music. There was an ear protector.
Can you imagine if we wore ear defenders like the little babies they bring onto the dance floor, those ear defenders, when it's first dance time? Hang on, don't do your first dance yet. Hang on, I just got to go and get something. Oh, what are you doing, Kev? Changing your lens? No, I need my ear defenders.
I don't want to listen to your music. I'm listening to my own. Unfortunately it's not here, but they're little silver ones. They're fantastic, and they filter frequencies whilst you can still hear everything going on, and you don't damage your ears. but I can't find them here. I must try. If I do find them, I'll let you have a link so you can put it in the show notes.
Yeah, that sounds quite interesting. Are they little?
Yeah, they are little.
Just pop them in your ears.
Yeah.
The other thing about it is, I'm thinking again back to this recent wedding, is I do find that, like, if it's really, really bouncing, then you can predict more of where people are going to be, what they're going to do. You can feel the crescendo of the music, and I like to use that to kind of make a sequence of images that kind of follow the beat, if that makes sense. Not that they're going to get the music in their photo film, but it does help being able to hear it.
Do you have any? There's only 2 more questions now. Do you have any secret hacks that you use at weddings? I use a chamois cloth to clean my camera if it gets wet, and I always make sure I've got a packed lunch just in case I don't get fed. Secret hacks. Well, I suppose a packed lunch is a good one. I just carry a banana and a chocolato bar.
Well, do you know, I used to always take roasted peanuts because I love them.
Yeah.
And then once, in fact, it was one of the regular listeners to the show, I was second shooting for another photographer for Paul at his wedding. And I'd said on Instagram that I always take peanuts. And he said, "Oh, please don't bring them to our wedding because we've got people there who are highly intolerant to them. I've never taken peanuts anywhere, and don't take them just in case." I never thought about that.
It's a bit like when you get on an airliner and they say, "We will not be serving peanuts today because somebody on the airline." Yeah, good point. Yeah. I take spare pants, Kev. Yeah, and I know. I don't know. My mum said years ago, always carry spare pants. But spare trousers are not a bad idea because, and I remember Paul, was it Paul Rogers? I'm pretty sure it was Paul Rogers.
Don't tell me he himself at a wedding.
No, Kev! No, he did not. But he did bend over and he ripped his trousers, and that's a difficult thing to come back from. So you're tickled by that idea, aren't you? Paul, I will have serious words with Kev in a moment.
Yeah.
So spare trousers, spare belt, and the spare little thing that you connect the spider holster to. I carry one of those as well. Shall I move on? Do you follow up on do you follow through on inquiries? while we're on the subject, are you sneezing or are you dying in the background?
Right, I need to look at something to concentrate.
Oh dear. Do you follow up on inquiries? Yes is the answer to that. I do. Yeah, it's important to. Although I do have 5 or 6 at the moment that have been in the inbox the last couple of days, because I'm nearly there, Kev. New website is almost there.
Oh yeah, I keep looking every day. I look.
No, I add at least 1 image every day. But actually, I've sold 2 weddings since I've changed the website. Has not got the full gallery up. It's about as simple as a website can be. It's one wedding gallery and a contact thing, and I've sold 2 weddings in the last couple of weeks. So it is doing the business to an extent.
I don't follow up my inquiries unless it's an inquiry that I think, oh, I really like the sound of that. I send, if I don't hear back from them, I just think, yeah, they don't like the pricing or have changed their mind. Somebody else.
They don't like me. They don't like the Mullins. Right, that was
to Paul.
They have. No, don't blame them.
£3 Paul.
Please
Don't be rude.
You're quite right, Donald. He needs telling off. Right, let's get out of this place. Let's have a chat with somebody who's far more serious than you are at the moment. He's got his finger on the pulse of the brand new camera, the X-T5. This is a when Kevin spoke to moment. When Kevin spoke to Andreas.
It is the 2nd of November 2022, if you're listening to this in the future. And today, Fujifilm have announced the X-T5 and the 30mm macro lens. So let's start with the X-T5. I, as people will already know by now, have used a prototype version of it. I liked it. It's to me, it's much more X-T3 styled rather than the X-T4 in terms of the hump and the viewfinder, the LCD on the back, etc. But just go through for us, Andreas. What are the the key specifications that's going to make this camera a flagship, which I think it probably will be.
So the X-T5, if we think of the heart and the brains, starts life with the 40 megapixel X-Trans CMOS 5 HR sensor that we first saw in the XH2, and the X Processor 5 that we first saw in the XH2S and the XH2, right? Okay, so that's the heart and the brains of the camera. So super high level, same as the flagship XH series cameras, right? Then we find it situated in a body that's more traditional, so XT, T for traditional, with the ISO dial, your drive dial underneath that, your shutter dial, your still movie switch, your exposure compensation, and then sort of like less of a pronounced hand grip that we know from the GFX and the XH series, and more sort of like traditional, sort of like top plate. Central viewfinder, because it's SLR style, and then back to a three-way tilting LCD touchscreen that we first saw, albeit on the XT2 actually, but then evolved in XT3, etc., etc. So XT series, obviously we started life with the XT1 back in 2014, and it's just an evolution of them. So we've had T1, which was our first weather-resistant SLR style, really hit the ground running in terms of all those traditional dials. Then we evolved it to XT2 in 2016, up the pixel count, and then sort of like increase the video features, the continuous shooting with the battery boost modes and things like that. Refined it a little more in the XT3. XT4 brought features like in-body image stabilization, as well as a vari-angle screen, love it or hate it. And with the XT5, we've gone back to a traditional three-way tilt screen, which will probably be whoops and hurrahs right now. But ultimately, because we've got the XH series, which have got the vari-angle screen, and they're designed for the hybrid shooter, we've been able to split out that requirement. The XT4 was trying to hit both markets in terms of traditional dials, but with sort of like preference of hybrid shooters with that vari-angle screen. But XT5 can be that photography first type camera with the dials and sort of like the screen in the more traditional way.
That's the kind of impression I got from it, was that they've when we had the XH1, which was like this kind of peculiar camera that came that was a hybrid of video and stills and all that kind of stuff. And for me, it didn't seem to know where it was meant to sit. Yeah. Because the timing and the sensors and all that kind of stuff. And now it feels like to me that the XH line is, or certainly mostly aimed to, I've got an XH2S, as you know, and I use it for stills, but it is mostly kind of rooting down that kind of film hybrid direction. Yeah. Whereas the XT5, they've gone back and, as you said, thinking kind of photography first, perhaps.
Yeah, the easiest way is the naming H stands for hybrid, and we've got two options in that front. You go for either a speed hybrid in the XH2S, where the focusing speed, there's like the codecs in terms of the 4K video and things like that are more inclined to video, but also you've got the resolution hybrid, the XH2 with the 8K video as well as the everything. So you don't need to pick hybrid or you just need to pick hybrid or traditional, and the T stands for traditional.
So going back to the LCD, right? The vari-angle LCD, that for some reason was something that just kept coming back to bite us on the podcast. People kept writing in saying they didn't like the LCD, the tilt angle screen on the XT4. Now I loved it. Like I'm kind of disappointed myself personally that we've gone back to that version, but I know I'm a minority. I have to say. Yeah. I'm definitely a minority. And it's probably just because I've used the XT4 for so long that I'm used to it. But it is slightly different, isn't it? In that it doesn't have that quirky feature that the XT3 had where it gets stuck under the eye cup. I think it pulls out.
No, it feels like it's a much smoother mechanism. I think it's actually the mechanism that we evolved for the GFX camera, so it doesn't get stuck and what have you. It's a much smoother, much nicer mechanism, I think, than the X-T3. Or it might just be one of those psychological things because you've got something new and shiny in your hand, and you've been told it's the best thing since the last one that was the best thing, that it is actually the best thing. So no, I think that everyone who was an X-T2 user never upgraded for an X-T3 because they thought the resolution wasn't a big enough bump. Everyone that was an X-T3 user that didn't upgrade to X-T4 because of the things that we've mentioned. I think the X-T5 ticks the box for every generation of XT user. Viewfinder's been improved slightly from the X-T4, and that is a 0.8 magnification. We've still got the IBIS. The ethos, the challenge that the engineers set to the designers was to try and make the camera as small as possible. So actually dimensions are more like the X-T1 dimensions in terms of width and height, with the only exception being that the depth of the camera, because you have to accommodate that bigger battery, which now is good for almost 700 shots.
Well, I mean, I went when I was in Japan, I didn't change battery once.
No.
And I shot 2,500 pictures. Yeah. But then I don't use the LCD much.
Then you're not reviewing all your images. You're switching it off in between usages and things like that. And yeah, we walked for what seemed like 500,000 miles on some days. And yeah, just snapped away very, very happily. But no, we are very proud of all of our cameras, to be perfectly honest. But the X-T5, we think that a lot of our users will be happy as well until the next one.
So we know it's got the new 40 megapixel sensor. We know it's got IBIS, all of that kind of stuff. And the IBIS, I think, is slightly improved over the X-T4 one in terms of
it's 7 stops. So it's the same IBIS mechanism as we saw on the XH2. So it brings a lot of those functions down to like slightly in price point. The key thing to mention is that the X-T5, in terms of price, you're looking at £1,699. You're looking at €19.99. You're looking at $1,699, which, as we know, it excludes sales tax. So it hits a very, very keen price point, slightly higher than the X-T4, but it does have a lot more resolution, does have a lot more features, better battery life, better video functionality as well. So we think that it really does tick all the boxes for the photographer.
So most people obviously think about the 40 megapixel sensor, and then the next thing that's going to go through their mind is speed, focus speed, AF speed. So compared to, it's not going to be the same as the XH2S because it doesn't have the stack sensor. But in terms of comparing it to something like the X-T4, it's improved.
Yeah, I mean, focus speed is an interesting one because what actually changes and matters is actually the tracking ability. The processor is massively improved versus the X-T4 sensor. That processor speed obviously makes everything run quicker. The sensor itself is actually the same speed, but because you've got a quicker processor, because you've got much quicker algorithms and much newer and quicker algorithms working on the actual sensor itself, on the camera itself, the focus speed is drastically improved. The tracking ability is drastically improved. I've pushed the engineers for an actual figure, but they're not willing to give a 6 or an actual number. The proof of the pudding is definitely in the eating, but all of the new generation focus speed is much faster than the fourth generation. Interestingly, from the XH2 to the X-T5, you won't notice any different. It's exactly the same in terms of image quality, focusing speed. It literally comes down to the ergonomics, the ability to bolt on additional accessories. So the X-T5 only has a metal hand grip option available, no vertical hand grip. Mm-hmm. The XH series has those vertical hand grips, both the network version and the standard battery grip, and also the cooling fan. And because the XH is a bigger camera, you can shoot 8K video versus the X-T5, which maxes out at 6.2K. The interesting thing is, I mean, you'll get comments saying, "Oh, I wish they removed video completely." And what I find funny about those comments is that people forget that the reason they're able to see the live view on the screen and the viewfinder is because of the video functionality, because it's that constant refresh rate off the sensor. But we've definitely put photography first with the X-T5, whereas the XHs are designed for that hybrid shooter.
So it's two SD cards, UHS-2.
Both UHS-2,
Now, pretty much the only thing that I didn't like, the one thing that I really wanted to come back, which I don't think they did, which is the photometry dial under the other dial. And I think that's a bit of a shame, I have to say, because I use that a lot. But I was speaking to somebody else about it, and they were saying actually they don't use it, but they often do end up slipping that dial into HDR or something else, so.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I was outraged, I think is the most polite way, when I first saw it on the X-T4, that still movie dial, the photometry dial had been used, and the reply came back, said, how often do you actually change the photometry? And actually I realized that I don't. What I'm actually doing is leaving it on spot metering and turning on and off face detection.
Yeah,
because face detection obviously will prioritize change the metering. So that's what I find. That's what my current workaround. I've got face detection on one of the function buttons, and I switch that on and off, and that flicks between spot metering and face detection on and off.
Whereas I'm the other way. See, I move the meter in regularly and typically don't use face detection. But there you go. Yeah. X-T5 launched today, announced today. When do you think, realistically, in the UK at least, people will be able to put pre-orders in?
We're expecting, obviously, retailers to have their pre-orders live. Those orders should be fulfilled from the 17th of November.
17th, so that's just a couple of weeks away.
Yeah, so very, very short window time. So we've got some touch and try days up and down the country, and the team from today will have their X-T5s as well. So go onto the events page on Fujifilm-X, and their team will be able to go and see one of the product specialists, Liz, Linda, Carl, or Carol, and they'll be able to get their hands on the X-T5, or they'll be able to go into the House of Photography and see the X-T5 or the new 30mm macro as well.
Yeah, so the House of Photography, Longacre, Covent Garden, that's a great place. I love it there. Even if you just kind of go and experience it, but you'll be able to touch and try all of the stuff that they've got there. A
real treat for people. The gallery has been converted into a winter wonderland. So nice photo opportunities and what have you, to just people to enjoy, free of charge to enter. So yeah.
Well, I haven't got any weddings really coming up. Do you need a Father Christmas?
I don't think your beard is big enough yet.
£5 an hour. That's all I charge Father Christmas.
Yeah.
So you just mentioned the 30mm macro. That's the other thing that's been announced today. Is it a 2.8?
It's 2.8. Bit of a stealthy one. I only first saw one last Friday because our samples were lost by the logistics company coming into the UK. So I haven't seen our samples until last Friday. The great thing about the 30mm macro is that it's a 1-to-1. It's got an equivalent focal length of 46mm, so almost a standard field of view. Close focusing down to 10 centimeters, weather resistant, linear motors, so really quick to focus, and £600. So if you look at our macro lineup, we've got the 60mm, which was launched when the original X Pro 1 was launched, which still stunningly sharp and what have you, but slightly slower to focus. Got the 80mm, which is an absolute peach of a lens, but you really need to be into your macro.
Yeah,
to justify that, because it's like £1,100. And then you got this 30mm macro, which I believe fits into the kit bag of most people, because of the fact that, one, it can be used as a standard lens when it's not macroing, and two, it's got that great close focusing ability. So at a price point of £600. So if you're thinking of dabbling into macro and going, I wouldn't use it a lot, but actually you can just use it as a standard lens when it's not being used as a macro.
Yeah, it's pretty versatile by the sounds of it. And I can see people using it for filming as well, actually, at that focal length, because they can typically get closer. Than they would normally be able to with like the 33 lens. And will that work with the extension tubes as well, do you think?
Because of how close the focusing is, it won't need the extension tubes, and it won't really work with it, because the minimum object distance goes to behind the front element.
Oh,
you can't get close enough to it when you've got the extension tubes.
Well, I think that's a good lens as well, I think, by the sounds of it, to add to your kit bag. All right, so I made a prediction before. We earlier in the show, I said to Neil, I think the X-T5 will potentially be the biggest selling camera Fujifilm have ever had. What do you reckon?
I think that it's close to X100V. It sells a lot.
Doesn't sell anything at the moment. You can't get them.
Yeah, but demand is high and what have you. I would say that yes, I think the X-T5 will be the best-selling X series camera that we have ever made. I think that the camera that will come sort of like closest to it will probably be either the X-T3, which is obviously now gone, or the X100V, because again, the X100V appealed to all the previous generations. There was a reason for all the previous generations to upgrade, be it resolution, be it the newer sensor, be it the slight weather resistance, etc., etc. We think the X-T5 ticks exactly the same boxes for X-T1, 2, 3, even X-T4 users to upgrade. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. We think that it's a great camera for the Fujifilm lineup, but also we think that there is no other camera like it in the market, which puts photography first, like the X-T5. I would challenge anyone from any other brand to disagree with me.
And in terms of color, silver and black, is that right?
Black and silver, yes, in 3 variations. So body only, 18 to 55 kits, and 16 to 80 kits.
And do you know what the price points of the kits are?
So the kits, the 18 to 55 kit is 2049, and the 16 to 80 kit is 2199. They're both pounds.
And they'll be available roughly the 17th.
Exactly the same time, yeah. So they'll be available for pre-order from the moment you're listening to this, and on sale from the 17th of November.
And did you know that it's a tickety-tock sensation, the X100V? Apparently,
I got told about that yesterday, and I was trying to find one, but X100 is one of the rare cameras that I don't have in my Fujifilm collection. So yes, I have seen that the TikTokers are praising the X100 for its filmic look in both camera and output.
There you go.
There might be a future for you, Kevin, as a TikTok star.
Oh yeah, I'll just dress up as Father Christmas and do it. Yeah, hold my camera vertically and
hold my camera. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. All right, perfect. Thanks, Andreas. Yeah, as we said, X-T5 and the 30mm macro lens are available to pre-order from today, 2nd of November 2022. Andreas will be with us on and off over the next couple of weeks while we dig into our trip to Tokyo, which was as much informative as it was enjoyable.
Thanks to Andreas for sharing all the deets on the X-T5, and that will be one in your bag, won't it, Kev? Without a doubt.
Yes, probably. I need to sell some stuff, like a child and a horse. But yes, I probably will at some point.
Your XH2S. Would you mind just send it down to the road to me, because I need the second body. I'll put it in my cupboard here, along with your 35mm, and pretend I don't have it. And then you can continually ask me for the next year, have I got your XH2S? And I'll say, no, Kev, I don't know where that would be. Have you looked everywhere at home?
Yes, I can imagine this happening, I have to say.
Yeah.
I probably would swap the two, in fairness.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right. Questions. Book of Face.
So, by the way, Andreas will be back with us next week, hopefully.
2 weeks.
All things being equal. 2 weeks. Sorry, 2 weeks.
Week and a half, actually.
Bi-weekly.
Yeah.
No, what are we?
Bi-monthly.
No, fortnightly.
Fortnightly, yeah.
When we discussed the factory tour. We have some audio from that, which was very, very nice. But we'll get into that in 2 weeks' time.
So we get to hear you on the factory tour.
Yes.
It will be almost as if I was there.
Yes, but unfortunately you weren't. Which is really sad, actually. But yes, so he will be back over the next few weeks, probably, as we pile through the audio that we did ultimately go to Japan to get for the podcast. Wow. And before I go to the Book of Face, we have a few more patrons to just say thank you very much to Greg Pedder, Daniel Ellis, Clinton Woosley, Ron Whiteman. Thank you very much for supporting us on Patreon. You too can support us on Patreon if you so wish. And for your support, you get our love, our thanks, and you get patron pop-up.
Yes, and actually we've decided that the next patron pop-up, which is on Monday, which will air Monday on our Patreon channel, we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into this letting computers edit your work and what we feel about that. Right. Book of Face, Kev. Go on.
Nicola Elliott.
Yes.
Nicola Elliott says, thank you both for an informative and entertaining podcast. I'm not sure. Hopefully she's not listening today because she might have changed her mind. A question or maybe a discussion point. When you've edited your RAW file, is it necessary, / preferable, to save both the original RAW file and the edited version along with the finished JPEG? And why do you do what you do? I'm not sure what I should be doing, and so end up with a variety of each image, but I'm beginning to think I'm causing myself unnecessary storage issues.
Well, you're not keeping a changed RAW and an original RAW, because really the RAW's the RAW, isn't it? I'm assuming you're using something like Lightroom, in which case it's really a side file, isn't it, that's telling your machine how to output it as a JPEG with all your different changes. So I'm not quite sure I'm going along there.
Nicola doesn't say what software she's using. Yeah. However, she is editing RAW files. So all RAW file editors are non-destructive, which means that, let's just say she's using Capture One. So you take your RAW file into Capture One, you make your edits, you export your JPEG, and then you give your JPEG to your clients, or you stick them on the website or whatever you're going to do with them. Once I've delivered my JPEGs to wherever they're going, I delete them. You don't necessarily need to keep them, because all you have to do is go back to your Capture One and just re-export. Now, your mileage may vary because it does depend a lot on how many images you're getting through and whether you'd like to have those JPEGs available to you, at the touch of a button, etc. However, I don't. I always think I can either go to my PicTime gallery and download from, got all my weddings on PicTime, so I can just go there and drag one image off if I need it, or I can just open up the Lightroom catalog. I use Lightroom. We're using Capture One as an example here. You can open up your Capture One. It's not called catalog in Capture One, is it?
I don't use it. I'm not quite sure.
Anyway, Capture One, you can open it up and just re-export the image again. It won't have changed. So there is, in my opinion, no need to keep the JPEGs once you export, unless you have a specific reason to do so.
Next question. This comes from Shan Tumuk. And then I think we have got a book this week, haven't we? We got a book. Is there a book?
Well, we have got a book.
Yeah.
But you're not sure we can talk about the book.
You're not sure about it.
But we also will want to talk about the GFX challenge.
Oh, we do. So should we do the book or the GFX challenge?
Let's do the GFX challenge, because that'll run out of time otherwise.
And we'll save the book. Okay.
You can win $10,000.
Well, we do have a question from Shan first. Hi, Kev. Yes. Hi, Neil. I've been a listener to the show for a while now. I've been trying to figure out the answer to this question via Google before eventually realising I might as well ask the two experts. Well, you can ask Kev, and I'll sit here and echo what he says.
What it's about. It depends what the question's about. Well, you're an expert in many things
stand by.
I have no idea about.
I recently switched from Nikon to Fuji with the XH2, and I've been learning about the differences between Capture One and Lightroom in terms of the way it handles Fuji files and worming. Our dog has a problem with worming at the moment, but we do have some tablets for it.
Poor Barney.
Yeah, I know.
Does he do that funny thing where he walks on his front leg and drags his ass across the floor?
Yeah. I taught him to do that.
No, it was Paul Rogers.
Stop it, Kevin. I really
hope Paul never listens to it. Someone's going to tell him. Somebody who knows Paul.
Yeah, I'm going to tell him. I'm going to tell him. Because he's my friend more than your friend.
Yeah, that's true. But I love you, Paul. Sorry.
Mike, I'm lost now with you, with Paul in the pants and the dog with the worming. My question is, if I'm going into Photoshop afterwards anyway, I do a lot of compositing. Does opening the photo in Photoshop from Capture One negate the benefits of doing basic adjustments in Capture One? I.e., will the issues found in Lightroom just reappear in Photoshop again afterwards? Now, I don't use Capture One. You do. You're the expert.
And I don't see worms either in my images.
There's this worming conversation has been... I thought this worming thing had disappeared, but obviously not.
Well, I think it has. So this is my take on this. I have seen it in the early days of the X-Trans sensor. I've seen it in my own images, like on the X100S especially. I remember seeing it in like foliage. Those are back in the days when Fujifilm and Adobe didn't really kind of chat to each other much. But since then, I think it's fixed. Honestly, I have to say, I think it's fixed.
I have not seen it.
I don't see it at all. And I just don't. But enough people have said about it. However, so there must be, it certainly did exist. Whether it exists now or whether it doesn't is neither here nor there, essentially. But, what I would say is, a lot of people read this, read on the internet about, Fujifilm and Adobe and worms, and they just assume it's there. But what I would say is if you're not seeing it, and I'm not saying you're not seeing it, you may well be seeing it, but if you're not seeing it, don't worry, don't stress about it. It's, I can't see it. No. But no, so the way that it works currently, although I think in the very latest version of Lightroom, again, I don't know about Capture One, but if you send an image, certainly if you send an image from Capture One to Photoshop, it creates a TIFF file, which is a ginormous, almost raw-like image with your adjustments. And then if you bring it back, it will still have the adjustments, but it will be a flattened file. So the adjustments you've made will no longer... So if you've increased contrast or clarity, and then you send it off to Photoshop and it comes back as a TIFF file, you'll no longer be able to adjust that slider.
It's baked in at that point, isn't it?
Baked in at that point. Now, I think... and again, I might well be wrong on this, but I think I saw something on Matt Kowalski. probably pronounced his name wrong, channel. He's got a wonderful Lightroom channel, all things Adobe, I think. He was saying that now, I think, or certainly it might be in the future, where you can go from Lightroom to Photoshop, and it will take the raw file rather than create a TIFF file.
Sorry,
and bring the adjustments back in. So there's all kinds of things going on with that element of stuff. But yeah, ultimately, if you're going from Capture One to Photoshop, it will create a TIFF file or a JPEG or a PSD or whatever you set it to create. And it will, if you create a PSD, I think it will bring it back as a layered PSD, and then you've got options to go back in, but you won't be able to just simply change the sliders again.
Right. I think I've.
Did you understand?
I think I did. But the problem was, I was also.
Is Barney scratching his bum at this question?
Can you hear him? He is. He's actually doing. Barney, stop doing that. Say hello. Say hello, Kevin. Hello, Mullins. Woof. Say woof. Oh, no. See, that's typical, isn't it? He barked a couple of moments ago when you probably heard him during that question. Hold on, Kev. I need to let him out. Right. I was with you on that question, Kev, but I did get a bit lost when Barney interrupted. Did you solve it? I think you solved it.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. Nearly. Maybe. Hopefully. Yes. Basically, if you send it there and it comes back, then you will not be able to make those adjustments. You won't be able to change those adjustments, but they will be there.
Do you often do that? Do you send things backwards and forwards between Photoshop?
I do for my portrait stuff. If I'm doing portraits or I'm doing like some of the commercial stuff, occasionally I'll do that. Yeah. I still prefer the content of where spot healing and stuff like that in Photoshop.
Do you?
Although the latest Lightroom, the new masking stuff they've got in there is quite clever
it's
as well.
just immense, isn't it, really? I mean, being able to... I've used it a lot for subjects, just picking subjects out during portraits. Much easier.
Very good.
I mean, that's what they've done with their masking. Imagine what they're going to do when they get onto Imagine.ai's kind of game.
Yeah, who knows where it'll go.
I mean, the two of them together. Whew. Yeah. There was, before we talk about the GFX challenge, Jeff Regal, we didn't mention this. This was a comment. I was mentioning it, you were mentioning it, and it wasn't officially a question, but it's still sitting here in the inbox. So can we answer it so I can delete it?
Yes.
A question for you about posting photos on social media. Whether it is Vero, Instagram, Facebook, etc., do you like to see single images posted or several posted together in a group, reel, or story? And how do you like to post images yourselves, as a single, a group, etc.? I appreciate seeing a single image so I can spend time looking at it and focusing my attention on it. So when I comment, I'm commenting on that single photo and not a whole load. Now, I am with Jeff on this.
I do agree, but I also see the reasons for other things. So, for example, my last post on Instagram was a series of 10 black and white images.
Right.
Which is is that called a reel? No, a gallery. A carousel.
It's a carousel, but it's not a reel. Yes. No, you didn't do a reel.
No, I don't know what that is. So a carousel. So it's 10 black and white images.
That's right.
And there was a reason that they all work together, and so I put them there. But mostly I just stick one image at a time on Instagram. So I think it depends a little bit, doesn't it? On what the message is. And, certainly I don't like the way that Facebook does it, in that, it makes one up big and then a couple small and all that kind of stuff. You can pick which is the headline image, granted, but then you have to click and all that stuff. I like the way that Instagram does it. You just swipe, and probably Vero does the same thing.
Although having said that, the when you do it on Facebook, I do once you've gone into it, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it does depend on how you're consuming it as well, doesn't it? Yeah. In Instagram, by far, even though the web interface is perfectly established now, by and large, most people are going to see that on a phone. So it's very easy because you just use your fingers. It's tactile. It's swipe, swipe, swipe. You're done. Move on. Whereas on Facebook, typically the way that I use Facebook is I log on and then I immediately log off again because it makes me depressed.
Okay.
No, but like if you go on Facebook, you got your middle scroll thing on your mouse, haven't you? And I just kind of scroll down until I see something that I like, and then I might look at it. And I'm doing it right now as I'm looking through it. And so there's a couple of things that have popped up that I quite like, and I'll click. And if there's more images, then I look at it. But yeah, Instagram I think is more because it's just image orientated, or videos or whatever you want.
Okay. Are you likely to use Twitter more, setting aside your love affair with Elon Musk? I'm noticing a lot more photographers starting to use Twitter to represent their work.
Well, I've always liked Twitter, I have to say. Since Elon Musk, love him or loathe him, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But since he's taken over, I have seen a lot of posts on Facebook, ironically, where people are saying, right, that's it, I'm leaving Twitter. I'm not, that's it. Freedom of speech is over, etc., etc. I kind of sympathize with that view, I have to say. But, then they usually follow that with, it's just full of vitriol and hate and all that kind of stuff. I don't really see that on Twitter. And maybe that's because I don't follow, like I'm not looking at politics and sport and all, that I'm not looking, and I don't really read the comments on Twitter. That's the thing. So if I see something on Twitter, let's just say it's a link to a wedding blog by another photographer, then I click on that. I won't sit there and read the comments and get involved in the conversation on Twitter itself. So I've always quite liked Twitter. I loved the TweetDeck interface. I don't know what will happen in the future with Twitter. Yeah. I mean, the easiest thing with I had my Facebook business page. I still haven't got it back. It's an orphan page now. What? It's got 35 administrators currently. Some from Venezuela, some from Brazil, some from America, some from Afghanistan, and they're all peddling spam.
You've got a small army of people working for you, Kev.
Yeah, I wish they were working for me, but
they're
not. They've just stolen my business page. Anyway, that aside, that's another story. But I can't remember where I started that now. Facebook, Twitter.
It was freedom of speech.
Yes. Twitter so the easiest way I feel for the world to solve the social media hate, the element of anonymous hate, being able to, a keyboard warrior, hide behind an anonymous thing, is to simply have to use a proof of ID to register.
How does that work?
Well, I want to create a new Twitter account. I've never had one before. I want to go to twitter.com, new account. It says, right, send us a copy of your driving license or your passport or your national ID, etc., so we can verify that you're a real human person, and, two-factor authentication, etc. That'll get rid of all the bots. Get rid of all of the anonymous haters, because they won't be able to do it.
What's that new
I'd
one?
happily do that.
I'm trying to think of the footballer. Oh, I like the footballer, and I can't think of his name. What's the matter with me?
Gareth Bale.
No, not Gareth Bale. He's good.
Aaron Ramsey.
Aaron Ramsey I like as well. Anybody that's not Welsh in this list?
Joe Ledley. Ben Davis?
No.
Reece Norrington Davis?
No,
Are you sure?
No, the one that's got the social media platform that, I don't think it's his, but he talks about social media with a conscience and, what's his name? I know there's people shouting at us now, Kev, saying it's so-and-so. Hold on. Manchester United.
David Cottrell?
No, don't just say names.
This is fun.
Manchester.
Wayne Hennessy?
No, United player who.
Is it Rashford?
No, it's not Rashford, but you're getting closer because at least he plays for Manchester United. He's a former Manchester United player who advertises a social media network. I know you'll know it.
Well, I know his name when you say it, probably, but I don't know. You're not giving me enough hints.
No, I'm not, am I? It'll come to me in a moment. I'll come back to it, Kev. Right. Do you want to talk about the GFX challenge?
Yeah. Was it Bobby Charlton?
No, it wasn't Bobby Charlton.
George Best?
No, not George
Dennis
Best.
Law?
Not Dennis Law.
David Beckham?
No, but if he had a social media network, I bet everybody would join it.
It would, wouldn't it? Andy Cole?
No.
Oh, I know who it is.
Who?
Ruud van Nistelrooy.
No.
I'll give up then.
No.
GFX challenge.
He was a defender. You mentioned every
Rio Ferdinand.
That's the one. Hallelujah.
There you go. All you had to say was defender.
Rio Ferdinand's social media. Well, I know it's not his, but he advertised it. We are 8. That's it. Oh, that was painful, wasn't it? We are 8.
Okay, I'm going to look at that at another time.
The social network,
Ferdinand, by the way, was a fantastic player.
Yeah, the social networks that should have served us now harm us. That's the tag. We are 8. CEO and founder Sue Fennessy sent Rio Ferdinand this video. Anyway, it is basically Rio's been calling for social media reform, and
because he had a lot of. A lot of hate, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, good for him. I'm really hoping that the it's probably too late for us old duffers, but the next generation of people as they grow up will we'll have a clean, accessible social media that's used for the right reason.
Well, I see
in social media.
Yeah, I see this one advertised on the London Underground all the time, and I keep meaning to check it out. So there we go.
Okay, so
GFX, yeah.
Challenge Grant Program is officially called. We are about to hear a little clip from one of the interviews we did in Tokyo with Kunio and Toshiya, who are marketing people, marketing gods, if you like, for the Fujifilm X series. And GFX Challenge is the reason why I'm putting this in now, or we're putting this in now, I should say, is because it has a lifespan. I'm not sure exactly when it finishes. I think it is the end of November, might be December. However, you need to get on it if you want to do it. All you have to do is submit a proposal for a chance to receive $10,000 for the global grant, $5,000 for the regional grant. And then they will also, so the proposal, you don't have to shoot anything. You just put the proposal in. This is what I would like to do. Dear Fujifilm, this is what I would like to do. If you could loan me a GFX for a year, this is what I'd like to do. And also I would like $10,000 for the privilege. Then they pick one and you get $10,000 for the global grant, 5,000 for the regional. And then they give you a GFX for, I think you keep that for a year or something, a couple of lenses. I'm not sure they give you the whole system. Anyway, you can find all of that out on Fujifilm-X.com and you can listen to Toshiya and Kunio talk a little bit about it right now.
Yes, this is Kunio. I'm in charge of marketing of X and GFX series. 2 years ago, just I got the original idea of GFX challenge. Let me share my idea, my thoughts about Fujifilm. So I think Fujifilm is not camera brand, but photography brand. So it is very big difference. General person, everybody see camera brand and photography brand is almost same, but for me it is very different because camera brand just produce camera itself, but photography brand we Fujifilm have to the gear to produce a good photography. So for me, Fujifilm, camera is just still a tool, not final production. Okay, so I think we have to contribute to the photography itself. So just as the reason we have such a program to produce to promote the artists to create new photography, good photography. Okay, so for me, it is to summarize. What I want to say is camera as a tool and photography as a final output. Tools and output. The combination is significantly important for us, Fujifilm. That's the reason.
Okay, this is Toshiya, and we also came up with the idea of GFX Challenge grant program because through our work, we've met a lot of photographers, and they have a lot of ideas about what to do with cameras. And we create cameras, and photographers create the final output of it, and they have the ideas. So we wanted to see what kind of ideas photographers have and what they can do with GFX system. So it's like we are trying to make a better camera, but to make a better camera, we need input from photographers. And what's better than the final output that's produced by photographers? Then, so in a way, it's a way for us to learn what photographers do with that camera, and at the same time, it provides the opportunity for photographers to do what they want to do, the ideas that they have with the grant.
Yes, let me add. So through this project, through this program, so we became to know many talents have a very good idea to be shown. So, but unfortunately, such a photographer, such a talent, creators, does not have enough chance, does not have enough budget to realize their own ideas. So that's the reason. That's the reason why we have to produce, why we have to run this program.
So what we obviously started the challenge last year. So what was what's been the thing that's excited you most about the 2021 competition?
I think just the fact that we had about 3,000 applications from all over the world, and that's more than what we have expected originally. Originally, we were not sure how many people would be interested in the grant program. We were uncertain. And my goal, or our what we discussed internally, maybe I'm not sure if I can disclose this, but I think our initial goal was 1,000, and so that's 3 times more than what we in the end. So that excited me the most, because there are a lot, many photographers and videographers. They were eager to create something, and we provided the opportunity for them, and that's what excited me the most.
Almost same as Toshia. So to pick up, to choose just 5 or 10 works is very hard. So this is not existing works, so just upcoming pictures and visual communication. Yes, so that's the reason. So we have to see the potential.
So how do they, for the challenge this season, if you like, how do they get these proposals to you, and what happens at the point of success if they are successful?
We had a landing page on our website, and only way they could submit their ideas is through the web. So that's the same this year again. But so if they have an idea, they put it together as a PDF and just submit.
And then how long does the program run for this time?
Last year we started in November and ended the application period in top of January 2022. Okay. And this year we started on September 8th. And then we are running currently open accepting entries until November 30th.
Okay, so there's still time.
Yeah.
And the prize is quite spectacular.
That's good to hear. Thank you. So yeah, we offer for Global Grant Award, we offer US $10,000 and GFX system as a loan. And then we also as a regional grant award, we offer US $5,000 and GFX system.
So I just wanted to ask, it's not really a GFX challenge thing, but as it's the 10th anniversary or thereabouts of the X series, one of the questions we had earlier that we were speaking was, it wasn't a question, it just simply said, I don't have a question, but just tell them that I love them, or that we love them, okay, from one of the listeners. So you must be really proud of the last 10 years. And as you know, I had the original X100, and here we are 10 years later, and everything is different. How do you feel about that? How is that in your mind? When you wake up in the morning, you must just think, wow.
At the beginning of X series, X mount, so I have a kind of repulsion. It is a hard against existing camera brand or existing camera systems. So that's the reason we started our original unique X system. But at the beginning phase, so most of the users, just a few, most of the users did not like our new solutions. So my 10 years is just to make friend who love Fuji X series, who is a friend of Fujifilms. So very, very long days, but for me it is very fast.
But you must be really proud, though, you know.
Because every time, everywhere, so I meet new users, new friends.
Thanks to our friends in Japan. And of course, if you are lucky with that GFX challenge, lend us a $5. No, what a great opportunity, Kev. Are you going for it?
Why not? You should do it. Everybody should do it.
Are we allowed to?
You put the proposal in.
Are we a little bit too close to the organizer? Well, we're not sponsored, but I mean, it's not a Fujifilm show or anything.
There's only two asterisks. There's only 2 stars underneath all of the T's and C's. It says star, no purchase necessary to enter or win. Star, a total approximate retail value of all grant awards offered in connection with this program is USD $229,500. There we go. So it doesn't say anything about you or me not entering.
No. Oh, well, you can hear. I just sent my email off as you were saying it.
So they did it last year as well.
Yeah.
So those they select more than one. It's not just one winner. So they select. I don't know exactly how many, but they select. So those projects are going on now. So the ones they selected from last year, they are now out doing their projects, and there will be an exhibim and all that kind of stuff.
Fantastic opportunity.
So they're running it again.
Yeah. Right. I tell you what, Kev, the time has gone past so quickly today. Our thanks to pick-time.com for supporting us on the show. If you want to be a part of the offer that they have, what do we do, Kev?
Pick-time.com. Use the code FujiCast, all capitals, and your life will just get better.
Is that official? Your life will just get better. We'll of course link to it on the show page as well. And that's it, Kev. Hasn't time flown?
Yes, it's flown since 4 a.m. this morning when I got up.
I know. Have you got another early one tomorrow?
No.
What does the rest of the week look like from Mullins?
I've got a busy rest of the week. I've got interviews to do. I've got judo tomorrow night. I've got a competition on Saturday. I've got my radio show's coming back online.
Are you getting a belt on Saturday? Are you?
I've got a win. I've still got to win 3 more. I need another 30 points. So it depends on if I. And even if I do that, I then have to go and do the theory and the exam and all that stuff. So.
You have to do theory as well?
Oh, yeah, you need to do a 2-day theory, and then you have to do a test on that.
Wow. Well, it is involved. All right. Well, that's it for this week. If you would like to send in a question, we do need them. Book of Face has not been so busy of late, has it?
No,
I wonder
it
why.
hasn't. So we do have some questions, though, so there's no urgency, but if you want the show to continue, get questions in.
You're a real threatener, you are.
And Patreon pop-up will be available next week on Patreon.
Yeah. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Maybe we should talk about trousers and pants.
Yeah, let's get Paul Rogers on.
No, stop it, Kevin. I'm the one that carries the spare pants. He's the one that carries the spare trousers. I'd just like to underline that. And if you'd like to send a question in via email, it's click@fujicast.co.uk, and we will see you. Well, it's not exactly a fortnight, actually. It's a week and a half, because we held back to this Wednesday for the embargo. So we'll see you then. Bye, Kev.
Bye.
The FujiCast is an independent loading zone production. Email the show with your questions and words of wisdom to click@fujicast.co.uk. Email any complaints and political nonsense to our wives, who will deal with your comments in their own good time and in their own good way.